Your meeting is being live streamed.
Okay,
It's working now.
fantastic. I had to bypass. Okay,
Your meeting.
fantastic. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. We had a bit of a technical issue, but thank God, we've bypassed it and we are live. So I'm very excited. I feel like this session is just, we've had like some amazing people on here, but there's something special about this one. It feels like it's the start of a new chapter for us. And I couldn't have anyone better to join us than this lovely, wonderful lady. You can see her smile. It's so contagious.
She's trying to control it.
Please do not. This is a space where you can just be absolutely yourself. So thank you for joining us and welcome, Abiola. Welcome, welcome. I wish I had one of those like sounds like shh. Welcome to Choosing Well, a space where we get to just kind of chit chat and share experiences so that others can also learn and have their lives transformed for the better. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making the time to join us and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here as my face and my mouth cannot seem to stop. Very, very excited to be here. Thank
Yeah,
you for having me. Thank you for
thank you.
inviting
So just like share a little bit about yourself, maybe just kind of tell us anything you
me.
like about you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I always define myself first by all of my female gender roles. I don't know why. I just find that I always start with I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a colleague. So all of those things. But I think the one thing that is the best part of who I am is that I'm a Christian.
Mm,
I absolutely, unapologetically, shamelessly love Jesus. And it's not because I have it figured out or because I figured out I was supposed to fall in love with him. It's because literally, like the Bible says, he loved me first.
mm,
And it's out of his love that I have found the ability to love him back
mm,
and the ability to love others. I remember a friend told me that you like people. And I thought, oh, do I? Because I always thought I hated people. And then I realized, oh, I do. And that's when it clicked that it's been a journey of
mm,
falling in love. I started out genuinely disliking human beings. I
mm.
thought of all the creations, we're the least, we're just not it. But I've gone from that over the course of
Mm,
44 years of my life, over the course of my life, to loving people,
mm,
but not for who they are, but because of what they represent
mm.
as the image of God. So, yes.
That's so good. I love that so much because I feel the exact same way. I did not like people for a long time. But now I can't help but do because, Jesus died for each and every one of us, and so that makes us
Yep.
special to him and to me because of that.
Yep.
Um, so I love that. I actually attended a little program yesterday online, and I think the lady's name is Caroline Busley. I'll share her resources with you. She wrote this amazing book called Epic. I don't know if you've heard of it. But
Hmm.
she kind of told us to do like a 1 minute elevator pitch, and she told us to start with who we are as like human beings,
Mm,
not like
yeah.
the work that we're doing, but like who the people that love us and get to interact with us frequently, like who do they say we are? How do we make them
Mm,
feel? Who are we? Because I find that sometimes, especially in the marketplace, for lack of a better word, we kind of feel like we have to
yep.
downplay that aspect of ourselves. Oh, don't say you're a wife, don't say you're a mom, don't say you're this or that. Like, be a boss lady or whatever. But
Yeah.
um but those other parts of ourselves are just as important. And I love that that's what you start off with. But enough of the girl crushing. We're gonna dive into
It's
the
mutual.
questions. We're gonna dive into the questions. So, I feel like I need to share with people like how we met. We met many, many years ago. Um, we started, so when I joined a program in Nigeria, Biola was my line manager. That was in 2016. Even before that, I think we had our paths had crossed. But in
Hmm.
2016, I feel like that was the time that we really like got to
Yeah.
interact with each other and meet. And it didn't start off as a girl crush relationship.
It
Well,
was
God has
rocky.
transformed both our lives so much. Um, and that in turn has obviously transformed our relationship and how we interact with each other and how we see each other. And she's just been someone that's kind of just been such a pivotal part of my journey, I think. With the different transitions that I've gone through, she's always just kind of been there, just being supportive. And it's just amazing to see the growth and
I'm
transformation
not
in
gonna
your life.
cry.
God is really, really good. I feel like this is like a testimony to like there's nothing God can transform, there's nothing God
Mm,
cannot redeem. So yeah, I'm really, really happy to be talking with you. But let's dive into it because Biola has so many amazing things that she's doing at the moment. She's like a powerhouse, like boss lady. She seems like very like but you should see her. She's like a lioness, you know. She's the leader of the pack. So we'll talk about your leadership journey. We'll start off with that. So you've moved from being finance manager. I didn't remember the other one you were doing. Like you've just got so many things under your belt. If anyone went to your LinkedIn, they'll be absolutely impressed. And then you became CEO of, is it CEO of
mhm.
an agri company, shall I
Yeah,
say? And now
yeah.
you're in Tara, Ghana, Nigeria, and you're just championing and leading the front and just changing the lives of communities across Nigeria. How has your definition of leadership evolved across these different seasons?
So I've thank you for sharing the questions ahead. That helps. So I've had some time to really think about it. And to be honest, if you had asked me that my definition of leadership, I would have struggled a while
Mm,
back. But because of the journey I've been on, I'm so clear on it. And I'm open to it continuing to evolve because that's
mm,
one of the key lessons for me for 2025
mm,
is we're constantly in a learning journey. And as long as we approach life with humility, there's always room for growth, for more learning, for more discovery, and
mm.
sometimes unlearning. So
Yeah.
I would say today, right now, I would define leadership as the relationships we hold. And that
Mm,
starts with the relationship with ourselves. There's this idea of to be a leader, you have to have people to lead, you have to have followers, which I agree with. But I would twist it a bit and say your first follower is yourself. Your first person to lead is yourself. And when you understand that, first and foremost, I'm leading myself,
mm,
it just makes it so much easier to lead others.
mm,
Because how would you want someone to guide you? How would you want someone to inspire you? How would you want someone to motivate you? Suddenly, all that toxicity has to go away
mm,
because you're looking at them through the love lens that you should look at yourself. In addition to that, I've discovered about Jesuit values. So that's under the Catholic umbrella, which I'm not Catholic. I should make that disclaimer. But I love the principles of leadership that they hold. And one of the things they say is we're all leaders and our whole lives are filled with leadership opportunities.
mm.
So if you look at it that way, then it makes you ask yourself, who and what is a leader? Well,
Yeah.
that's someone that uses their influence for good.
Mm.
And so for me, I would say that's how I would define leadership. It's what influence do you have and how are you using it? First, by influencing yourself, and then by influencing others.
Absolutely. This is reminding me of, the leadership sessions we had in PDF, and
Yes. Oh my
there was a wonderful
gosh.
gentleman Prof. Chidebere on here. Interestingly enough, today I think he's got like a special event happening. But like he's had such an impact on us. He created a safe space
Mm,
for us to learn, to grow, to come into an awareness of emotional intelligence. And I
yeah,
remember him talking about leadership, and I think that was one of the first times that a lot of us realized that obviously leadership starts with self.
yeah,
Even if you don't have anyone literally following you, you can lead yourself. And that awareness just kind of like transforms and like kind of runs a thread through so many different things, and then you start to see that it's
absolutely.
more than what you think it's been this whole time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I don't know, I took my glasses off. I need to
Yeah.
put it back on because I need to see. The screen was kind of bouncing off it. So you've started a PhD program, and so your name has been on my contacts. Your name has been Dr. Abiola Ebohe for like many years, because I think you mentioned
Ah,
it to me.
yes, I say
Anyone,
amen.
anyone that has ever mentioned to me that they wanted to do a PhD, I immediately just like changed my their names on my contacts. It's been
Oh,
there for a bit now. And I know you started, was it last year or is it this year?
yes, yes, it was last year,
Last year. So what inspired
2024.
you to pursue a PhD in leadership, no less?
Yes.
And what have you discovered so far that's reshaping how you think about influence and service?
Yeah. So, disclaimer, I always like to do disclaimers because I don't like to mislead people and think life is all wonderful beds of roses. I didn't actually pick this degree.
Mm,
It found
mm,
me. So it's almost like an accidental relationship.
mm,
So I graduated with my bachelor's in 2004,
mm.
and I immediately got a job as a CFO for a nonprofit organization in the US. And one day while I was working, sorry, I tend to tell stories in order to expand. And I
It's
know you
okay.
know that about me. Thank you for accepting me with so much love. But a colleague of mine, her aunt came by, and I said, "Oh, who's that?" She was like, "Oh, my aunt." I was like, "Okay, what's she doing in town?" She was like, "Oh, she's hanging out at her beach, at her lake house, and she's grading papers." I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" She's like, "Oh, well, she just finished teaching a class, so she decided to come chill at her lake house while she grades papers." I thought, what did you say? Is she chilling at her lake house while she's working? I thought, what does she do again? And she was like, she teaches at a university. I was like, that's it. That is my retirement plan. So I don't want to retire. I feel like as
Mm,
much as you have life in you, you have work to do, you have things to achieve. Why go under the umbrella of retirement?
mm,
So I've always had this desire to keep moving.
mm,
So when she said that, I was like, that's it. That's going to be my retirement plan. So I started doing research, started talking to people. And what I found out is in academia, you hit a glass ceiling if you stop
mm,
at a master's. And the agreement with my mom, that's another story for another day, was that we would get a master's degree. So I knew I
mm,
was getting my master's. There was no question about it. But when I found out that I would hit a glass ceiling, I thought, well, then I might as well just go for a PhD. But then I thought about all the teachers that made like lasting impact on me while I was in college. And it was those who had life experience that they could pull from. So every time they would teach us something, they would refer back. And those were the stories that stuck with me. So I thought, well, I need life experience. So I can't get my PhD now because I want to make sure I have a good, pool of life experience. So I waited. It was on my to-do list, but I waited. And life kept happening, but I knew it was going to come up. So about what, 16 years into my life experience journey, I thought, okay, maybe it's time to start. I had my ACCA, my kids were no longer toddlers. So yeah, this is the time. So I started applying. Every single school I applied to completely
mm,
ignored me. I thought, okay, everyone tells me I'm reasonably smart. Everyone tells me I write fairly well. Why won't one single school say yes?
Yeah.
Well, of course, we know how wonderful our Heavenly Father is. He knows that sometimes the best way to get us to obey is by saying hard no.
Mm,
I needed that hard no to stop looking at all those other schools.
mm,
So I was like, okay, I don't know what to do next. Thought about taking some coaching classes. I thought about GRE, was exploring different things. But in the course of work, came across an article about the economy of communion. And I remember
mm,
when the person shared the article, you could tell they didn't really think any of us would read it. But I was like, I'm going to read this because I'm curious about economy of communion. So I
mm,
read through the article, and the way I read, I try to read the preface, I try to read everything in there because I feel if the author has invested the time to put all of that
mm,
content, it's important to go through. So
mm.
in the course of
Okay.
reading the article, there was a little fine print note that referred to statement the author made, and they were referencing someone from Creighton University. So I was like,
Mm,
oh, that's a very deep thought. It came from Creighton. I wonder what university that is. And that's how I went to research the university. And as I was researching, I saw the ED program. Thought,
mm,
this is my degree. This is the PhD I need, you know. And of course, it was in interdisciplinary leadership, which is
mm,
perfect because I've always believed all of us have something to add. There's a value we bring to the table. So interdisciplinary allows you to explore it through the lens of what everyone brings to the table. So yeah, so that was it. And because I was so sure that was my degree and that was my school, it was the only school I applied to. I
mm.
didn't apply anywhere else. I just said,
Wow.
this is it, Lord. I'm applying. If you say no, then I know the answer is no. I need to go back to the drawing board. And I remember I was in Gasaki with my sister and a few friends. We went to hang out with the women in the community. And then usually the network is bad, but my phone clicks and I look at it and I got accepted. I was so excited. I was like, what? So yes, so it was a very accidental journey, but absolutely
Mm,
what's the word? Providential.
mm.
Absolutely providential.
Amazing. And I don't think it was accidental because what you shared earlier about like if the author has taken the time to put that little note there, then he means something like God has taken his time to put certain things in our parts, in our
Mm,
story, and they mean something. They have a place too. And so
absolutely.
with all of that that you've been doing, even like meeting your friends, is it mom or auntie, and knowing about
Mm-hmm.
that, for me, that was like a seed that was planted in your mind of the possibilities and making you aware that this is a path that you'd like to follow, even though it took you another 15 years or so, because
20.
that seed had been 20 years, because that seed had been planted, when the time was right, it,
Yeah,
it allowed you to take hold of the opportunity that you saw. And because obviously God knows too that you look into the tiny details of things, he put a tiny detail there for you. Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. And that's just
Yeah.
really it just goes
You
to
see
show
why
how
I love
amazing
talking to you, the
it
insight you bring to
is.
things.
I know. And yeah, God is faithful. Thank you for sharing that because that just like really, really resonated with me. Um, but yeah, so with all the things that you're learning and all the
Mm.
articles you're having to read and all the classes you're taking, like what have you discovered so far that's kind of reshaping how you think about influence and service?
So the last class I just took, so
Mm,
I'm struggling a bit this term. We just started a new term, and
mm,
I'm struggling because I enjoyed the last term so much.
mm,
I'm trying to remind myself I'm in a new season. I need to enjoy this new season and not necessarily let go, because it's not a letting go, but allow the build up
mm,
of new onto what is existing. But Introduction to University Teaching, that was the
mm,
course I took last term. and I read, so we had plenty articles and text to read, and I read mine. I'm one of those nerdy people that I feel the need to read everything. I can't respond to a discussion post until I've read everything. And if I find myself having to respond without reading all of the material, I
Mm,
just feel like somehow I've fallen short. Like my
mm,
discussion post is not as rich.
mm,
So the book we read was The Courage to Teach. Now, when I was in Singapore a few years ago, I remember one of the speakers, he was, I think, the keynote speaker. At the end of him sharing about his journey, he said, no, he insisted that they should give the audience a chance to ask a question. Now, because he's such a prominent, high-profile figure in Singapore, the people who organized the event were actually hesitant to ask him any questions because they
mm,
didn't want to muddy the waters. But when he gave that opportunity, they said, okay, we'll take one question. And normally I'm not the person who feels the need to ask a question because I'm busy soaking what the person has shared. But
mm,
that particular day, I couldn't shut myself up, so I raised my hand. So I ended up having the privilege. It truly felt like a privilege to be able to ask him a question. My question was, how do you know when to let go?
mm,
And he said, the best way for me to answer your question is by sharing my experience. So he shared his experience, and I won't get into that because it's a whole nother story. But at the end of sharing his experience, he said, dare to serve. That was the voice he kept hearing, dare to serve. So I left Singapore with this message of dare to serve.
mm,
And I didn't know what that was, where that was going to take me. But I did know first step took several months to get there, but the first step was walking away from my role as CEO. So there was clarity there. But then what next, Lord? Where do I go next? And as I was going through the courage to teach, it hit me. And it may not be that my next role is teaching. I'm not saying that that's what I'm hearing, but there seems to be this calling for all of us to have the courage
mm,
to live an undivided life.
mm,
And the way the author of The Courage to Live, The Courage to Teach phrases it. So it's a book to help teachers, but I would call it a book for life. It just helps you live life. So he says, he uses Rosa Parks as an example when she decided she wasn't going to get up from her seat.
mm,
If you actually dig into her history, she didn't start out as an activist. In fact,
mm,
she was adamant that she wasn't going to be an activist because she felt it was pointless. But for her, she hit a point in her life where it was like, I have to stand for something.
mm,
I have to stand for something. And that's where dare to serve comes into play for me. And that's where the courage to teach comes in play for me. I have to stand for something.
yeah.
So as I lead, as I work, as I evolve, the question I want to constantly ask myself is, what do I stand for? And if
Mm,
there's no clarity, then I should probably walk away from whatever that thing is that I'm
mm,
doing.
mm. That's so important because there's something about having clarity, just kind of it changes the whole game because moving about being uncertain, it kind of muddies your mind a bit, not a bit, a lot actually, and it just leaves you
Yeah.
confused. So when you get that clarity, and I find that clarity comes with like taking the little steps, right? For you,
Mm,
perhaps was like maybe just asking that question and then going in and even reading the book or the article, just taking those little steps as life for God begins to like unravel um these steps ahead for you. It's like having the courage to like keep taking it and taking it. And you're not gonna get clarity by sitting on your chair.
nope.
You can't sit down and wait for clarity. So that courage I think is like so pivotal for everything. Absolutely
Yeah.
everything, especially if you want to live the life that you've been designed to live. You need courage for it.
Yeah.
You need courage for it. Yeah. So let's go into Gada or Tara. Tara. Ghana, Nigeria. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of these answers, but I think it'll be really useful for our audience to hear about it. It's such a powerful concept, like bringing people together in such a simple way, just community, doing things together, building intentional lives. Um, I know it first started in the US, and then you heard about
Yes.
it. But what personal
Yes.
experience or season inspired you to want to bring this idea into Nigeria when you first found out about it?
So,
Why didn't you just leave it as, oh, okay, this is a cool idea? What made you feel like
yeah.
this is something you want to? Yeah, please share with us. Thank you.
Um, so I'm gonna use a story again. After I gave birth to my son, it was a very hard pregnancy for me because, and also in contrast, my daughter's pregnancy was a very easy pregnancy.
Mm,
So my son's own was difficult. And then the child would not get out of me. I'm like, come out already. They induced me. That boy said no. Finally, the doctor looked at my husband and was like, we need to do a C-section. Because she had tried reasoning with me and she could tell she
mm,
wasn't making it. And so he looked at me and was like, we need to do a C-section. So we did. And I'm grateful that we did. And he came and he was healthy, but my emotions were a wreck. I
mm,
was a mess. I didn't get tested, which in retrospect was not very wise. And I didn't get help, which again in retrospect was not very wise. But somehow I survived the first almost 24 months. So we're about 2 years of childbirth. I finally feel like, you know, when you're drowning and then you finally are able to keep your head up and you're like, okay, it's not just every time you put your head up, you get tossed back in. You're finally, oh, afloat. And then suddenly, oh, the sky is blue. Oh, you know, the mountain is there. Yeah, so I felt like I had finally gotten my head to stay above water and I could see again. And I felt like me again. And I was on a call with my friend Marie, just catching up. And she was like, oh, so we had a really great catch up. Funny enough, since then, we've not ever had been able to have a great catch up.
mm.
Ironically, this was 2018.
Wow.
And at the end of it, she's like, oh, I have to go. I'm hosting the women. I'm like, oh, what's that about? So she told me about Gather Moms. And I was like, well, can we start one here? And she was like, well, I don't see why not. And, you know, I love being surrounded by people who don't see impossibilities, you know, who are always willing to say, let's try it out. And that was her attitude. She was like, so I'll introduce you to Jenny, because Jenny Worsham is the one who started Gather Moms. So
Mm-hmm.
she introduces me to Jenny, who has no idea who I am, you know, never met me. And I'm telling her I want to export her idea from the US to Nigeria. And
Mm-hmm.
this wonderful lady says yes. She's like, of course. And then she emails me the 24 family values. So I
Mm,
pick up the phone, I call my sister. Of course, Halima has to say yes because, you know, we're the same. Then I call a few friends, and everyone I called said, yes, let's do it. So we had our first gather. I think we had about 24 women show up. It
mm,
was there was that much need and desire for
mm,
women to come together. And if somebody hadn't said, let's do it, all of us would have just stayed there in our silos. So it was
mm,
an eye opener to me of how there's such a need, but we just don't know about it. We just have to be brave enough to voice it, and suddenly the doors will open. So
mm,
since then, we evolved though. So we started out meeting once a month. It got overwhelming. And then as my career path changed and jobs changed and more responsibilities, I would always try to scale back. So one day my last door, it was hectic. I said, ladies, I love y'all, but we have to scrap together. And one of the ladies called me and said, absolutely not. We're not scrap together. I will take it on. So we've just kind of kept it going, the women's group. So we've evolved into a women's group now rather than just a mom's group. And we meet once a quarter now to try and make it more manageable. So yeah, from that, it gave birth to the nonprofit Tara for Community Development Initiative. So that's how we came about.
Amazing. I don't want to keep interjecting with my own story, but I love how it kind of mirrors the daughters as well, because it just came from
Yes,
a need to have that gathering, that safe space where we could just be. And it just goes to show how having like a community is so, 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 so important. I can only speak from my
absolutely.
experience as a woman, but I don't know about the guys. But I think
No,
for
they
us,
need it
they need
too.
it too, right?
They
Yeah.
do, and they find a way to have it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for us as women, girls, ladies, whatever age, like it's so essential, right? It's so, so important.
Absolutely.
And even though life, like there's so many different seasons and life transitions from here to there, if you can just keep finding a way to continue to gather, even if it's not as often as you would like, just having those
Mm,
touch point moments, like I'm needing it so badly. Like online is not the same for me. I
yeah,
love that, like gathering together in a space, having a theme, just doing girly things, like making the place beautiful and
yeah.
just chatting and spending time together. It's so beautiful. It enriches our lives in such a wonderful way. And beyond all of those wonderful, um, what's the phrase for it? There's also some concrete things that can come out of it, right? Because for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yep.
collaborations are such an important part of the work that we do. When you shared about the founder of Gather, like she knew the importance of like sharing the idea and letting people run with it. If you want to go far, you've got to go with others. You've got to be able to share, you've
Yeah.
got to be able to work with people. And those gatherings are important for that because when you're yourself, you allow people to truly see you, and then you can
Mm,
kind of find areas of like, where you can work together of symmetry, and then you can take one idea
absolutely.
that's just a little small seed, and then when two people or three people, whatever, they come together, they share their own perspectives on it, and then all of a sudden it's birthing something grand and beautiful, and the roots are like going into like different parts of
Yeah.
lives, touching people's lives, changing it for good. It's just it's
I
just so
love that
wonderful.
visual. I love it.
It's just so wonderful. Yeah, I'm mindful of the time, so I'm going to skip the next question. But like we've had a full circle journey. You were once my manager, like I said, and then later you gave me the privilege of coaching you. So you've just been a really big supporter of mine, so thank you for that. But like, what has that evolution taught you about leadership, humility, and growth?
Yes, absolutely. So I remember when we were at, okay, no, you hadn't come yet. When I was at Spark, I met Dele Thomas. And when I met him, I remember Faith saying to me that, oh, he was once a project manager, a program manager. And
Mm,
I was like, oh, really? She said, yes. And he's now a consultant. I thought, okay, that's interesting. But it stayed with me,
mm,
and it reminded me that there are seasons to life. And recently, I have the wonderful privilege of working with Vanessa at ICS. And I listened in, I'm shadowing her. She's been so amazing. And I listened in on her teaching to grade 7. And
mm-hmm,
she taught them from Ecclesiastics about seasons of life, the
mm,
times and seasons. And that's what I thought of when I saw
mm,
this question. I'm like, but that's life. There's a time for everything. There's a season for everything. 1 minute you're the boss, the next minute you're the employee. One
mm,
minute you're the child, the next minute you're the parent.
mm.
1 minute you're being coached, the next minute you are the
Yeah.
coach. And the interesting thing, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I feel like our coaching started long before this year.
Mm,
Do you remember when we used to meet on the
yeah,
balcony?
I
That,
do.
that's what our conversations have been for me. Just a very healing, safe, a new term I heard, rather than a safe place, a bold place. A place
Mm,
to be bold, a place to express even your unformulated thoughts and then
Mm,
have someone guide you towards framing it, and that's the gift that you've been to me, is that place where I can share, even when it's not fully articulated. And I don't have to worry that I have to get it together before I share with you. I can just share the messiness of it. And then together we can make something beautiful out of it without you trying to, I, I can't think of the right word, without you trying to overpower. It's more of a, like when river is flowing, you don't try to stop its force.
mm,
Instead, you almost like lovingly say, "Oh, did you see that way?
mm.
Have you considered that?" And honestly, you should do this for a living. I really think so. You should be that gift to every person out there. And by the way, I think that the more we grow in our career, the more we need a coach. So I would strongly encourage every woman out there, if you don't have that person, it's not a mentor per se, it's not a therapist. Um, so that person is like championing you, being honest with you, having those hard, painful conversations, but all within a very loving and safe space.
Mm.
So let me use this opportunity to say thank you again.
No, thank you. Thank you for, yeah, there's many things I can thank you for, but I think the more that we had those conversations, I think the more I saw that I could just, there was wisdom in me. And for
I'm
many people that
so
have met
lucky.
me recently, it feels like I've always been this person that like speaks and there's always something profound coming out of it. But I haven't always been that way. I've had, like, I was telling my husband the other day, I said, I can never forget who I was before I God
Mm,
awakened my mind, my spirit, my soul to who
mm,
I am in him. I can never forget that. So I'm very intentional about staying close to him because I know without
absolutely.
him I am actually a terrible mess. Um, but just having those conversations with you over the years, I think just helped me realize that there's a gift there. And
Mm,
sometimes when you have a gift, if you don't get a chance to express them, you just don't know that it's there.
yeah.
So thank you for that as well. And honestly, what you said about like consider making it like for me, that's the point of the foundation and the different things that we're putting
Mm,
together. It's like, how do we meet people at every point in time where they're struggling or whatever level they are in? If you're just a
mm,
student, if you're a young career woman, if you're someone that's made mistakes in the past, whatever
yeah.
level that you're in, what can we create so that even though you can't interact with me one-on-one, you can
Yeah.
still get a piece of, what makes interacting with me unique or special. So
Mm,
it's trying to pull out those things and putting them into
that is phenomenal.
so that's what
That's
we're trying to do,
phenomenal.
by the way.
You know what that
And we're
reminds me of? Oh,
go on.
continue, please, continue. No, no, no.
So yeah, just saying that so that like everyone that's listening to us can we're evolving so much and so quickly and God is doing a mighty work in our lives. You can see our new logo.
Mm,
But I said to him, I said I'm not a products person. You've not given me like products
mm,
to sell, but I want to be able to bring to life the original instruction that you gave in Genesis, be fruitful, multiply, have
mm,
dominion and subdue. So how do I do that? How do I get what you've given me as a gift and put it into every home so that when it's in that home, they can feel your spirit, right? There are some worship songs you listen to. Like for me, when I listen to some
yeah.
worship songs, I can tell that the person has spent hours in the presence of God and you can feel it and you just get to like, so that's what I want with everything that is being created on that the foundation is that you listen to it, it gets into your space and it just transforms and you
Amen.
can sense that this is straight.
Amen.
This is straight from heaven, and that obviously requires a lot.
Call it into being.
Yeah. So that obviously requires a lot of like for me to like
Yeah.
submit myself to God and spend a lot of time with Him. And it's a constant journey because I have moments where I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, don't stress me. Um, but I try to keep the vision in front of me, and as I keep
Yeah.
taking steps, like the vision keeps getting bigger.
Mm.
And like I was doing a 10-year journal entry yesterday, like 10 years in the future. And as I opened my mind to like, okay, heaven, drop it for me, what I saw was like, whoa, there's a
Wow.
lot of work. But God is wonderful because when He gives you an assignment, He doesn't need you to do it on your own.
Yep.
He sends people your way. He sends resources your way. There's just so much that he brings your way. He doesn't let you do it on your own. He does it with
Mm.
you. And I think that's such an honor and a privilege. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of the journey that
Absolutely.
we're both on as well with Tara, and the Daughters Community Foundation. It's all kind of birthed from the same idea, from the same blueprint, just
Mm.
manifested in slightly different ways. And I think that's why we work so well together. Because we're working towards the same goal.
Yeah. You know
Yes.
what I love about what you just shared, especially when you ended with, and that's why we work well together. So being in the private sector, you see the tension, constant tension, of me against the world.
Mm,
Well, what if rather than competition, we flip
mm,
it to the word you said earlier, collaboration? And I think that's what we have an opportunity to showcase the world,
mm-hmm.
that we're working towards the same goal, but we're not in competition.
Yeah.
Instead, we're collaborators.
Yeah.
And I know that it will be hard for the private sector to see that, but I do believe that there is an awakening happening,
Oh, yes.
and more private sector individuals are saying, hold on a minute, there's enough space for all of us. And even if there isn't, let's share it anyway,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for adding that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is an awakening, and it's so exciting to see because
Yeah.
everywhere I look, I see possibilities. I don't know how else to say it. Like everywhere I look, there's opportunities to collaborate, to work together. Because it's not about like stamping your name everywhere. It's like we have
Yep.
a goal. How do we make it work? How can I pull your strengths? How can you pull my strengths? How do we design something that, works together? It's just there's possibilities everywhere. Uh, and I just want to say for anyone watching and like, well, how do I get there? How do I, start to see things instead of looking
Mm.
at it from like a place of lack? Because I think when people fight, it's because they feel like, okay, there's only so
Yes.
much. Um,
Yes.
for me, it will always be, well, God will always be the starting point. But beyond that, it's instead of thinking about you and how people will remember you, I would say look at the problem that you want to solve and
Mm.
let that kind of guide the choices that you make. Like, okay, what are other people in that trying to solve the same problem? Like, what are they doing? How can
Mm.
I work with them to solve
Mm.
that problem? I think if you keep your eye on the vision or the goal, then you don't focus too much on yourself and whether you're getting something out of it or not. Because over time, if you continue to add value and you continue to refine yourself and the value that you're adding, opportunities will open up for you. Because the honest truth is
Yeah,
that people cannot
absolutely.
avoid or deny someone that brings value to the table. They may not be doing it from like a, oh, we love you perspective. Maybe just like they see the value there and they want some of it. Yeah, that's fine. If that will get you through the door, no problem. We'll get in that door and then we'll transform the whole space. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so intentional leadership and community. Because I wish, I don't know, do you want to share a little bit about what Gather Nigeria is doing? Because you
Yes,
guys are doing awesome
absolutely.
things here. So please
Oh
tell
gosh,
us.
I love talking about Gather Nigeria. So, we're into multiple things, but this is where I would start from. If you want to understand a bit about Gather, we have two guiding principles. And I
Mm,
always tell people, that if someone asks me, give an elevator speech about Gather, I would always start with we have two guiding principles.
mm,
One is that we need each other, and that comes from Jenny. That comes from the original Gather moms. We need each other, and that's why she started Gather. And the second is, as much as we have opportunity, let us do good to all. And
Mm,
that is an extract from Galatians. I love that scripture because it's not about this is what I'm going to do with my life, but rather it's about where opportunity comes, I step up.
mm,
I don't wait to be asked. I don't wait to be begged. I step up because there's an opportunity to do good. So one of the things that where we started was actually in Gasaki community. I went there for work, and while I was there, I saw the women and the kids look malnutrition, and it broke my heart. And I got home back to my cozy, comfortable life. And I kept thinking, especially seeing my kids in contrast to the image I left,
mm,
I just kept thinking, God, you didn't show me that just so I can shove it somewhere and
mm,
pretend I didn't see it.
mm,
What do you want me to do? What can I do? I live far away. I live an hour and a half from the community. How can I be of help? So I
mm,
kept praying about it. And one day I was sharing with my pastor, and he said, what's the name of the community again? And I told him, and he was like, we have a family that lives there.
mm,
Could not believe it, and that's what gave me the courage to go.
mm,
Because I found that if you want to do work anywhere, any good work, if you don't have someone on ground, it's very difficult to get things done.
mm,
You're just so far removed from the reality of what they face daily, you can't really be of help.
mm,
So we went there and we said, look, there's a group of women in Abuja, and that's Gather Nigeria, the women's group, that want to help you as women. How can we help? And they said, could you pay our children's school fees? Could you give us food? Because we're hungry. And I love their openness. They're like, wait, can you just please give me some food? I'm hungry, And the third thing was we want something to do that we can also bring some contribution
mm,
to our families. So we said, okay, what can we do? We came back together, we deliberated, and so we started a school fees program. So we pay for the school fees of, it started out as 50 kids. I think now we're down to 26, but there's a positive to that. We're
mm.
down to 26 because the families are able to afford their children's fees.
Wow, that's
So we
amazing.
don't have to pay it anymore, which
Wow.
for me is a beautiful sign we're headed in the right
Yeah.
direction. We've had our first batch of year 6 children graduate, and the beautiful lady on this call with me is taking on one of our kids. But then we also started a regenerative demonstration farm with the women. It's on 9 plots of land, and the 54 women collectively. So we always start with a meeting where we talk to one another, we
Mm,
gather. And
yeah.
at our first gathering, we said, we want to do this with you. We are partnering with you. You will do the labor part alongside us. We will bring the funding. Whatever you harvest is yours to share, but we have just one requirement: no chemicals.
Mm,
That's the only deal that we are asking for. We will not bring any chemicals near this 9 plots. They reluctantly agreed.
mm.
That was 4 years ago. No, that was, this is our second farming season. So that was 2 years ago. But at the end of the year, there was no reluctance. They were
Wow.
all in. So now we're farming on that plot, completely organic. They are happily doing the labor. One of our important models is planting trees because we believe we should farm with trees as opposed to get rid of the trees. We
Mm,
understand the value of incorporating trees in our farming system. So watching them care for the trees, like they would, because there's a stream, but there's no water source immediately by the farm, these women will go and fetch water to water the trees during dry season.
wow.
And that's what kept them alive onto this year. Just that commitment from them has been mind blowing. I was sharing with my sister that, was it a few Thursdays ago? Yeah, last Thursday. we're supposed to go to Gasaki. And as I was entering the car, I was like, what are you doing with your life? Should you really be going? Maybe we shouldn't go. And I said, just get in that car and go already.
Mm.
When I got there, I went with a sweet friend, Chisom, who we collaborate with. I'll tell you about that part of our work too. And the last time we went, I blame her. Every time she goes, it rains. The last time we went with her, it rained and poured. We were soaked. I even felt sick a few days after that. We were drenched. And she couldn't stop thinking about the women. And she
Mm.
thought, we have to get them raincoats. And she wasn't able to shake it, just like my experience was, where I couldn't shake it. So we went and bought 60 raincoats, that
Wow.
beautiful woman, and we went to give out the raincoats. So as we're giving out the raincoats, one of the ladies, Mercy, who's also a volunteer on ground, came up to us and said, so remember how we talked about savings? With the women, we saved some money. I was like, really? So we talked about savings in March when we were trying to encourage them to open bank accounts. We brought Fidelity Bank, open savings account. But you know how you have these conversations, but you manage your expectations,
Yeah.
especially for those of us who have been in development. We are
Yeah.
very good at speaking English, but it usually does not really amount to the things we hope for. So I had managed my expectations and I thought, Bella, you are going to find the money for this machine somehow. Little did I know that that seed planted had birthed fruit.
Mm.
These women taxed themselves and collectively raised 150,000 naira.
Wow.
I was blown away. I was like, wow, the power of gathering,
Mm.
because it was a gathering to talk about financial inclusion, to talk about savings. And then we went beyond that. We said, let's not just save, let's invest.
Mm.
Because if we only save, our money will not work for us. But if we invest, the money will multiply and work for us. So they bought into it. We didn't put any threshold for them. They chose to tax themselves. And by the time we did the numbers, they actually have ended up raising 10% of the cost. Now,
Wow.
what development partner doesn't dream of that? That you come into a space, you establish a relationship with someone, and they tax themselves
Yeah.
10%
Yeah.
of the funding. It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
These women are phenomenal. They believe in themselves. They're
Amazing.
willing to invest in themselves. So, of course, me that cannot keep good news to myself, spread the word, and boom, boom, boom. Money was just flowing in, and it's still flowing in, and there's still room to give for anyone who wants to give. But it's just been humbling. Another piece of work that we do is with the Kids Nook Library. So Chisholm, there's this beautiful book, my book of period stories, that was written by this wonderful author. Her name skips me right now, but she's a very sweet lady that
Mm.
also has a foundation focused on helping young girls. I will use your word, helping young girls become. And so when my daughter read the book, she loved it and kept going on about it. And then Chisholm was like, "Oh, we should do like an event about it." I was like, "Okay." And me and my, let's go for it. And so we did. We had girl to girl, and it was so phenomenal having moms and girls
Yeah.
talk about puberty and what it means to them and how they can navigate through it. Conversations that we didn't have
Mm.
but we're benefiting from because we see the value of. So, Girl to Girl is something that we hope to do more and more of, raise that awareness and help girls own their body, realize what a beautiful creation they are. There's a poem about bleeding everywhere. So now I love to say, just bleed, it's okay. For all the men listening, I'm sorry. Not really. But yeah, so we just, if there's opportunity to do good, we
Yeah.
jump at it.
Can we
We
can we
don't
share
hesitate.
the account details on the YouTube?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You have it, right?
Yeah, I've just gone to grab it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just absolutely blown away because there's no way to, that phrase where like you can force a horse to the water, but you can't force
Mm,
it to drink. Like, there's no
mm,
way that you could have forced them. There's no way. They just, I love, first of all, from the beginning that they're open. I'm still, I'm literally like, I love that they're like open, first of all, to
Yeah,
just kind of share, this is where we're struggling, this is where we need help. I think that that's
yeah,
powerful from the get-go. And then just that willingness to kind of work with you and just take on ownership and be so committed to their kids and the future and to go from like having to pay for like 50 something to like half of that. That's amazing because they went from like we don't have food to eat to we can eat and then we can actually pay for our
yep,
children. Like that's like generational impact there. And then you're
yeah.
talking about the agricultural aspect too. So now you've taught them the importance of like, staying away from chemicals. So then obviously their bodies are better for it and they can teach
Mhm.
their children the importance of that. There's just so much that comes out of it. Sorry, one second.
You know what this reminds me of? That video during COVID. I think there was something on CNN where in the middle of a live
Oh yes,
broadcast,
the
you
daughter
know,
comes.
look at that video liberated all of us.
I
It was
know.
like we are all human.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely. As a mom now, I'm like, hey, it's what it is. Just
Yep. Mhm.
just take me as I am. But I'm just absolutely blown away by someone saying, yes, I want to do something about this problem that I've seen. And that just like I've had a recent situation where I found so I'm passionate about like ending intimate partner violence. So anything that has to do with that.
Mm,
Like I'm all over it. And someone had told
yeah.
me about something that happened in church. And I'm very particular about the church as well because I believe that the church represents God and God is
Mhm.
the most safe. Like that is part of what transformed my life is knowing that I was safe with him, knowing that I
Yep.
could be myself with him. I didn't need to pretend to be someone else, that I knew that he wasn't going to take advantage of me. And so it's really important to me that the church represents that same safety for people. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it hasn't been always the case. There's lots of cases of
Mhm.
of
Oh,
um,
yes.
abuse happening in church.
Yep.
And so I'm quite passionate about changing that, not just changing the narrative, but doing the work so that people can
Yeah.
understand what is going on, the impact of it, and then take a stand. Now, I did a
Yeah.
training recently, and what one of the things the trainer said and has really stayed with me is that the abuser does not require anything from you. He
Mm,
just wants you to keep quiet.
mm.
That's it. And
Yep.
it's the easiest thing to do. So a lot of us do it. What
Mm.
does the victim need? The victim needs you to step up. The
Yep.
victim needs you to pay attention. The victim needs you to like listen. The victim then needs you to take a stand and to continue to take that stand. And so the
Yep.
victim requires a lot of things from us, and a lot of us are not willing to do that. A lot of us want to pretend that it's not happening, but it is. We want
Mm.
to pretend that everything is safe. But safety doesn't come from pretense, right? Safety comes
Mhm.
from like facing the problem, the abuser head on, letting them know that they're not going to hide and we're not going to help them hide, and speaking up for the ones that have been
Mm.
abused, right? And so I heard of this situation that happened in a church and I've asked like what's been done about it.
Mm.
Alexa. It's time for bath time. And I hear that, oh, they tried to reach out to the guy, but he refused to listen and they just kind of let him go. And then now I've seen that he's in a different church in another leadership position.
Oh, oh
Yes, and that's just
no.
really
Oh
heartbreaking for me
no.
because obviously, if someone has done something terrible and they get away with it and they are rewarded by what's
Yeah.
going to happen in the future, they're going to do something
Yeah.
worse. And so I
Yeah.
feel very strongly to take a stand and go and have conversations with all the churches that are involved. And I know that it's going to be like one of
Yes.
those interesting situations where there'll be a lot of pushback on me, but I
Yeah.
don't care because somebody has to speak up for the victim.
Hmm.
Somebody has to show that things can be better, should be better. And
Yeah.
anywhere, anywhere, especially the church, it needs to be a safe space, right?
Yep.
So as you're even sharing your story, it's just encouraging me more to like take a stand and do what's right,
Yep.
even if nobody else is going to do it. it doesn't matter if it feels uncomfortable. So for people
Yeah.
that are listening, whatever it is that you know, you can feel this like urge in your heart, like you know this thing needs to be done. It doesn't have to be something as serious as, domestic abuse or intimate partner violence. But if there's something in your heart that you just feel really strongly, but you're afraid of what others will say, what they'll think about you, whatever. For me, what has
Mm-hmm.
redeemed me or freed me from that type of thinking is reflecting on how Jesus handled it. What does he say in the Bible?
Mm,
Like he ignored or forsook the shame, the pain, and he kept his
mm,
eyes focused on what was given to him, the task ahead, the glory ahead. And so,
mm.
whatever it is that you're struggling with, if you're overthinking, just forget about all the pushback, all the possible pushback. Because sometimes you're not even going to get any pushback. Sometimes it's just in
Yeah.
your head and you're
It's right
worried
there.
about what people think about you. But it's worth it to push back against all of those mindset limitations and focus on the vision, the glory ahead.
Mm,
So please don't sit on the sidelines because just from Biola just saying yes to gathering, look at the lives that have been transformed. The children's, beyond the moms' lives, now they're empowered. They've taken
mm.
a different perspective to their lives. They're in the driver's seat. They're empowered. They are learning. They are growing. They're taking what's been given to them and they're multiplying it. Like, I don't know about you, but that's
Isn't
amazing.
that exciting?
You can't force that. You cannot use outcome indicators to create that. You cannot use nothing can fake that. That's real. That's real. That's everyday real life transformation. And I believe
Mm,
each and every one of us have a part to play in different ways. And you just got to wake up.
absolutely.
Wake up and choose to say yes. And if you're struggling and you don't know what to do, my email address is everywhere. I've put my email address everywhere. We've got a website now. I'm sure it's on YouTube there. Click on it. There's a contact me button there. Click on the contact button and say, help me. I don't know what to do. And we'll figure something out. And the more people are asking for help, the more we can design resources
Mm,
and put them out there so that people can find it and use it, even if they can't reach us directly. So don't be afraid. Just take that leap of faith. And yes. I don't
yes.
want to keep going on and
Yeah.
on and on, but this is one of the reasons why I love talking with you because it just always feels safe to just kind of share, and
Yes.
just talk.
There's a thing that happens that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful.
yeah.
I heard a podcast that once said when people come together, it's almost like they create a third person. So I've
Mm,
always felt that way since that balcony. Like
yeah.
every time we come together for a conversation, it's like that third person shows up and
Mm.
she's having a grand time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I want to dissect our logo a little bit because as you're talking about that third person, beyond like, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it's just that like
Mm,
coming together of two people and creating something new. So for me, it was really important that we had three layers. And then beyond that, like having that foundation as the bottom part is
mm,
like we build on top of each other. And that foundation, as long as it's steady, that's why we did like all caps, as long as it's strong and steady, it
mm.
gives you a chance to kind of like, explore and try different things. It's that
Yes.
safety that we feel with each other that gives us that room to like just create something new and special instead of feeling like we have to watch our words or like, oh, maybe she'll
Mm,
misinterpret or maybe, there's nothing like that there. And creating those little pockets of safety is so important for us. And that's why community will always be a big part of what we do
yes.
because we know you can't do things in isolation. You shouldn't it get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But beyond that, when you're weak and you're alone, you can easily die off. But if there's other people around you that believe in you, support you, it keeps you going. When you're weak, you can, lean on them to support you. When you're strong, you can help other people as well. And that does something
Yeah.
special to you, especially when you've gone through a hard time and you have a chance to help others. It just gives you a boost of confidence and remind you that you've also got something to offer. and bring to the table. And I think that that's really empowering. Um, but yeah, sorry, I just thought I would geek out and share some of the reasonings behind um the
I'm
logo.
glad you did. I'm
Yeah.
really glad you did.
Okay, so let's round it up because guys, Viola and I can just
We
keep
could go on. We'll forget about you people and continue.
yeah, we can just keep going on and on and on. Right. So the theme of this series is choosing well. And
Mm,
it's really important for me, the choices that we make. It's really important that people understand the implications of choices because we've been given free will, and with a gift comes responsibility. And so that's why this choosing well was a really key aspect of our work, or is a really key aspect of our work, because we want to try to get people as aware as possible of the different possibilities that can
mm,
happen when you say yes. Um, and then, so just kind of getting people a chance. I always ask everyone that comes on here, like, what's one choice that felt really uncomfortable for you at first, but ultimately has shaped you for the better? Like, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I made that choice. I'm sure there's like tons of them, but like, which one, like,
there's so
really?
many. So there's so many, and I never ever, and anyone who knows me knows this. I never ever ever thought I would use this example. So
Mm,
I'm about to surprise even myself. But as
mm,
you ask the question, if I'm being honest, and there's no other way I want to be with you, Nana Howard, than honest. It's actually marriage.
mm,
And it's even terrifying to me saying it out loud because
mm,
I'm not a fan of marriage. You know, I'm very grateful for my marriage. I don't even like weddings. Try to get out of weddings. I try to see how I can skip people's weddings. I have one I have to go to tomorrow, and I'm a little annoyed, but I'm trying to look on the bright side. But here's the reason why.
mm,
I wanted to get married for as long as I could remember. And
mm,
then I dated someone, and it was not a good relationship.
mm,
And after dating him, I thought, I'm never getting married. I don't even
mm,
want to deal with men. Like, I am done. And so I scrapped that off my to-do list. And I thought, how am I going to get a baby? Then I was like, well, I'll just adopt. So my plan was to adopt, but then
mm,
that kind of fell through. That's a story for another day. That kind of
mm,
fell through. And then I met my husband. We didn't actually date formally, but I fell hard. But the thing about it is, I don't think because you love someone, you have to be with them. So I
mm,
really didn't feel like I had to be with him, but I really liked him. So
mm,
then I entered into sin, and I ended up
mm,
pregnant.
mm.
And I still was like, I don't want to marry you. Just because I care about you doesn't mean I want to be your wife. But then when he asked me, I don't know if I wasn't a Christian, I'd say he did jazz for me because it was a very odd situation. He was like, do you want to get, he didn't even kneel down, none of that proposal things. He
Yeah.
just looked at me and said, do you want to get married? And I was like, okay. And then as soon as I said, okay, I got like my whole demeanor just shrunk,
Mm,
you know, felt very sad. And
mm,
so he said, come, and he's not a very affectionate, lovey-dovey person, but he pulled me and sat me on his lap. And he said, why are you sad? And I said, because I'm terrified that you will change me.
mm,
And he said, I promise I'll never do that. you know. And so for me to answer that question, what's the one choosing well that I did? I
mm,
would say it's marrying Michael. My
mm,
marriage is not perfect. Please, ladies, do not be fooled by any of my pictures. Forget that thing. My marriage is not perfect. It is hard. There are days I'm like, on our anniversary, I always tell him, you're welcome. I haven't killed you yet. You know, for real, every year I assess, do I want to stay married or do I want to get out? Because maybe it's time to get out. I don't know if I'll stay married,
oh
and
my.
I'm being very honest here. But the miracle to answer that question, choosing well, is a man that fears God.
Mm,
Please, I beg you, women, I beg you, men.
mm,
If you are with someone and they do not have the fear of God, please, I beg you, run.
mm,
Run, because that partner really shapes who you are. That
mm,
partner has so much influence in your ability to become, in your
mm,
ability to flourish, in your ability to thrive, in your ability to find the fullness of life.
mm,
Please, I beg you, if you even have an inkling of a doubt, run
mm.
with everything inside you. Run.
Yeah.
That's my choosing well story that I never in my wildest dream thought I would share. So hopefully he's not watching. He usually doesn't watch these things, so
Well,
hopefully he
I
doesn't
think you
watch this
rounded
one.
it up quite nicely. You did marry someone that fears God, so I'm sure he's like, okay, yeah, that's all right, even with all the other stuff she said. And even when I'm talking about my husband, so I always say, like, he's a great guy. And I always say, oh, he like really upsets me a lot of the times. But at the end of the day, he's there for me and he has my back. And so
Yep.
that like makes a big
Every time.
difference. Yeah, it makes a big difference
Every time. Yep.
in the grand scheme of things, because a lot of the things that I'm doing, it's because like the logo, the website, I'm like I have to chase him like 500 times to do it. But he does it, and he does
Yep.
it like he wants me to win. And
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you from someone that's been, Abiola said it, like she had I'm sure, well, I hope that the younger people don't have to say, I had that relationship. So you people don't need to
Please
have
learn
that.
from
Please
us.
learn. And by the way, I've actually got a course called, I don't remember what it's called, but it has to do with relationships. I'm like, just kind of seeing things the way God sees it. I'm happy to like make it free. If there's interest in it, please put it in the comment section or whatever. I will find a way to get it to you. But yes, it's so important. My goodness, I can't tell you the difference between, it's like
Mm.
night and day. Having someone that
As
has your
in,
back is night and day,
mm-mm.
literally. You know what night and day means? Night meaning
Hmm.
like pitch black, no sun, no moon, no stars out. You can't see ahead of you. You put your hand like this, you can't see your hand. But day meaning like bright, sunny. When
Mm.
you take a picture, your face looks like it's really
As
nice.
in,
It makes that much of a difference.
you want to
Especially
fall,
for
you know
us.
someone will catch you.
Yeah, and
You
that
know?
gives you confidence to try out different things. And look, there's no way to be able to explain to someone that hasn't had kids what it means when you become a mother. You're even being pregnant, your body, your mind, you're fighting
Mm.
so many things because you're transforming, and it's kind of hard to see sometimes the way your body is transforming. And if you don't have someone that's like rooting for you, or like making a
Mm.
person is like talking about you in this my
Baby
son
cry?
is up, yeah.
Yep.
That's
Baby
talking
cry.
about you
I could tell the
the
look.
look.
I knew
I
the
knew the
look.
look. Yeah, someone talking about you in a disheartening manner, it just crushes you and it just steals the life from you. So please, do take your time. Don't think about it from a fearful place. Just think about it as you've got to be intentional and proactive about reviewing like for me, I always say it's kind of like a hiring process, right? You put
Mm-hmm.
the call out and say that I want to hire a comms officer. You have to have a list of qualifications that you have in mind of
Yep.
how you want the person to be. Don't just wait for someone to come your way and just take the person as they are. Like, what do you want out of it? How do you expect your life to be? What are your goals and your visions? And does that person tie into it? It's not just about you fitting into their lives, it's them fitting into yours as well. And
Yep.
then thinking about who I am, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and how can this person help me balance that, and how can I balance them out? There's a whole thing to it. But you actually made a big difference in mine, because I remember like writing a list of the qualities I wanted in a man. And I think I was sharing with you some like really superficial qualities, and she was like, no, like you need to be thinking more like, you know, more
You
than
gotta
that. And I
fear
was like,
God, man.
and so I was like, okay, fine. And I went back to the list and I started prayerfully, and I went to the Bible. I'm like, okay, what does the Bible say is a good man? What does he look like?
Yeah.
And that's so like again just highlights the importance of having people in your corner. Like you can't figure everything
Yeah.
out on your own. But yes, so final question. What excites you the most about the future of Tara,
Mm.
Ghana, Nigeria, your PhD, everything? What excites you the most about it?
Ironically, it's the uncertainty,
Hmm.
like, and I'm not, I'm a planner. So I'm not someone who thought I would say this.
Hmm.
I did a presentation yesterday. Yesterday I was in Kogi, crazy world. It was
Wow.
phenomenal. And as I was about to go for the presentation, because it was a very personal topic, I've
Hmm.
done a lot of presentations and not been bothered, but that one was very personal. So I was a bit anxious. And there's another sweet friend that I talk with. We call it coaching one another.
Hmm.
And I was messaging with him because we were supposed to meet. I had forgotten. And he said, let me see, what were his exact words? It boiled down to letting the water flow where it will.
Hmm.
If you start from a place of love, if your goal is to love on the audience,
Hmm.
and then he said, be comfortable sitting in silence. Um, I thought, huh. So that's it. That's what excites me about the future. I have no idea what's up next. I
Hmm.
am looking for opportunities, but at the same time, I'm enjoying where I am.
Hmm.
And so, whatever comes next, whatever lays ahead, I know one thing for sure. And that's the motto I've been living my life with for the past 2 decades plus. If he says go, I go. If he says stay, I stay. And I have absolute peace in that.
Hmm.
Whatever he has for me with the PhD program, with Gather Nigeria, with so another company that I work with closely is Mutane Co. They're a nonprofit based in the US that's working to build houses for single moms so they can
Wow.
own equity and not worry about the roof over their head. It's
Wow.
phenomenal.
Wow.
So wherever he says, as we have opportunity to good. Lord, I'm all in. Just tell me
Hmm.
and I'll do it. So
Wow.
yes, with Daughters Community Foundation, with the Kids Milk, all of these opportunities he has brought my way, and if he says go, I go. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what excites me
Amazing.
about the future.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us and for whoever's going to be catching up later. I hope that you learned a lot from the conversation because I did, and I just kind of encouraged because I am as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next month. Bye.